We are now in Chapter 7, Aspect 4 of Desjardins' Employee Responsibility of his Introduction to Business Ethics. First, we'll discuss the stakeholder model interpretation of professional responsibility. Then we'll mention gatekeeper professional responsibilities. And finally, we will discuss prima facie professional duties. Stakeholder model of the firm. So how can we conceive of a professional duty of a manager? We had no trouble conceiving of a professional duty of a doctor or teacher. For the doctor, it is to heal. For the teacher, it is to teach. But what about a manager? We know on the narrow interpretation of employee responsibility, the manager should simply be maximizing profits for the employers. But is there a way to conceive of professional responsibility of a manager on the basis of vulnerability, expertise, and within the moral framework? So for that, we need to look at the stakeholder model of the firm, argues Desjardins. So how can we conceive of a professional duty of a manager? Desjardins argues that it should be conceived of on the stakeholder model. The professional duty of the manager or the CEO in a corporation is not to maximize profit for the firm, not only, which serves the interests of shareholders or employers, but to do what is good for the firm. And the good of the firm is for the firm to be around for a long time to provide a quality service to all of its stakeholders, not to shareholders alone. Quality work for employees, quality products for customers, competitive return on investment for shareholders, and so on. In light of this, we should also mention what the gatekeeper aspect of professional responsibility is. In addition to performing their professional duty, some of the professions in business also have what are called gatekeeper duties, as they're also called the gatekeeper professions. Gatekeeper profession here just means that these professions are the watchdogs of the market as such. Their vital relation is to the market as such, not only to the firm that employs them. In other words, if these guys do their job as they should as professionals, then the firm will do all right and the market will be safe. On the other hand, if they fail to live up to their professional responsibility, not only will the firm suffer, but the whole market will fall apart. Whether the market as a whole functions or breaks down depends on these gatekeepers. It is not only their direct employers that depend on them. The gatekeepers include accountants, auditors, lawyers, and others. Accountants is the easiest example to explain. If accountants do not faithfully report the states of affairs, then there's too much risk in the market, since persons in the market would think that assets are actually less risky than they are. Then the whole market fails, as in the example of Barclays Bank and LIBOR, as well as in the case of the housing market bubble. The basic thought here is the market does not fail if teachers fail to do their job. The market does not fail if bubblegum producers fail to do their job. The market does not fail if the doctors do not do their job. However, the market will fail if accountants, lawyers, auditors of various kinds fail to do their job. In that sense, these are the gatekeeper professions, and they have extra gatekeeper responsibilities, professional responsibilities. In the end, the way to bring together all of the preceding is to say that employees have a prima facie duty to maximize profits for the employer. Prima facie duty means that it is a default duty that is to be abided by until it is overridden by a higher duty. Employers have a duty to maximize profits for their employers. but only up to a point at which this duty conflicts with the employee's professional duty. That is also usually a point at which their actions would harm the public, such as in the cases of auditors and raters during the housing bubble of 2008. Sure, auditors, raters should maximize profits for the people that hire them, but only up to a point where that begins to harm the public interest. At that point, the public interest should trump the interests of the employers. That is to say, the duty to maximize profits for the employers is only prima facie. It is to be done, but only up to a point at which harm to the public interest is done, and then those duties would be overridden by the professional responsibility of professionals to not do any harm to the public.